All right, I'll be pretty short since I know everybody wants to get a short break before we come into this afternoon. I want to start with kind of talking about some residential sprinklers. Right now on the island, the only place that residential sprinklers are required is in the marina due to how kind of compacted that area is. There's a couple houses outside the marina that have voluntarily put them in, but not many. And currently it's not required in code, but I do think that's still coming in a future code cycle sooner than later. So kind of why do you have residential sprinklers? Fires start and they can get out of control within 2 minutes. We've dealt with that. They've been around for a long time, so it's not necessarily new technology. Today's fires are deadlier. They burn quicker, hotter, and the smoke is more dangerous due to the types of materials being used these days. Death rate is 80% lower in a house with sprinklers, just due to the fact that it stops the flashover. So it buys you more time to get out. Residential sprinklers aren't really designed to completely stop and put out a fire. They're designed to give you time to get out and the fire and EMS to get there. Residential sprinklers are not expensive. Obviously on ball head, the 135 average isn't going to be ball head. 366 probably isn't either, but it's not a great added cost, especially during construction. Home sprinklers, they do generally only activate one head. You see Hollywood, and the misconception is when a sprinkler goes off, your whole house activates and your whole house gets flooded. That's not the case. It's generally just one that activates and gives everybody time to get there and control the situation. They save lives and they were going to lower your insurance costs. That's just kind of going into this, homeowners prefer them if they can get a house that has them. And on average, the cost really isn't that great. Sprinklers fall under the national standard of NFPA 13. So there's kind of 3 different NFPA 13 standards. NFPA 13 is your commercial, everything's got to be sprinkler, concealed spaces, those kinds of things. Your flow rates are higher and they're designed specifically to kind of put out fires. You got a residential 15R, which is what you get in the marina, which is a separately metered, still got a riser, separately piped system. They're not going to be in all the concealed spaces. There's certain exceptions. You don't have to put them in. And then what's going to start going into houses is called a 13D. Those are going to run off your domestic water supply. So it's still PEX piping and they just kind of run a loop and they're going to catch those and put them in mainly sleeping areas where people are going to be. So that's why the cost kind of comes down when you're looking at the residential version of it. You're still going to have smoke detectors. So that's going to be also important. They work together. You don't just omit one when you install the sprinklers. Generally, your monitoring would start to come off of your flow system with your sprinkler system, because when that activates, that's going to be your monitoring. We don't, with the water pressure that JP and the utilities can provide, it's not a problem to get the flows we need with the domestic water supply for these systems. And then this is kind of going off of what JP talked about with our housing stock, just kind of update where we're at with the amount of houses that are currently CO'd and on the island. These aren't including the current active. So, we're somewhere around 60%. Could be a little bit higher because I'm not going to necessarily know about all the ones that have been donated to Smith Island Land Trust. Some of the properties just aren't going to be buildable, or I hope that somebody doesn't choose to build on some of them.
The 827, just to clarify, doesn't yet include some of the lots that Limited still owns that Chad has talked about that probably should be given to either the village or the association or conservancy. And
but somewhere in 60, because some of those could come off the books and some of them we could generate some more in some of these larger contracts that are still out there. But somewhere around 60% is where we're at as far as build out. And this is just kind of the permit activity over the past 4 years. 2019, it was starting to already kind of be an increase over what it had been prior. And you can see every year it's just kind of been going up to where 2020 had 38. And those are the different commercial permits that are included in that number. It's not 24 plus 3. 3 of those 24 were commercial for each one of those years. all I got, unless there's any.
So for the sprinkler system, is that informational or is there something you want us to be thinking about?
The code does allow a municipality to go above and beyond code for two things, flood and fire. So that's why we have a monitored smoke alarm system, and that's why we do require the sprinklers in the marina. So if it's something that island-wide you wanted to implement, it is something we could do ahead of it becoming code required. But it's more just informational and, you know, letting homeowners know that there are cost-effective ways of putting that in, and it's gonna be offset by your insurance costs.
Right, so I think this is the right word, but to do it in an existing home that doesn't have sprinklers, you have a sense of cost of that, or how
That's,
difficult is that?
that's gonna be difficult, because you're really gonna have to get in there and cut a lot of sheetrock out.
Yeah.
If you have wood ceilings, which a lot of folks do, I mean, that's gonna be pretty invasive.
So we're really talking new construction.
To construction, or, you know, some of these are getting kind of completely gutted when they're doing some of these big renovations, but
Right. So right now, you know, you think at least half the island could be sprinklered. And this is all relates back to the Lighthouse Landing fire event, like what would that have looked like had that home had that residential sprinkler system?
Right.
Well, that the fire started in the golf cart shed, I don't know.
Well,
Well, we do require sprinkler heads in golf carts, golf cart garage,
one per charger.
right?
Okay,
And that's been in a while because we finished our house in 04.
Yeah, that's been here. I've been
Okay.
here 19 years now, and it's been here as long as I've been here.
Stephen, has activity started to calm down? I know it's still in February, but are you seeing it?
Not really. And from everybody I've talked to, they have enough work pretty much planned out for the next 2 years. There's kind of a bottleneck at two positions right now, the ARC approval and engineering. Engineers are behind and can't get the engineered set of plans to the builders quick enough. So there's a little bit of bottleneck that's slowing things down, but I don't think it's because they aren't coming.
I think last month you didn't have any new residential.
Correct, but I think I've got 4 or 5 this month.
Really?
Wow, already.
Yeah, I'm waiting at least 2 months for structural drawings.
Right, yeah, and that's what I'm hearing is there's a couple that are just waiting on engineers to get set of plans together. I mean, I know that 1 or 2 of the specs haven't sold, but for the most part, all the specs are still selling almost as soon as they get pilings in the ground. Which tells you the demand's still here.
Stephen, are you aware of other coastal communities, resort areas with, you know, that might have fire issues and how they've handled implementing a sprinkler system?
There's not any that I've come across. That's not to say that they're not there, and I could research it more and find out. I do know that some of the Habitat for Humanity projects, that's kind of where a lot of this residential kind of experimentation started taking place about 10 years ago, as they started kind of doing it in their
In
system.
the Habitat homes? Wow.
As a way to kind of see how it worked, how much more cost was that, and that's kind of really almost like a little pilot program.
Mhm.
And it's been pretty successful.
What does that say? When low income housing has them?
Right.
And we're building mega mansions and we don't.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I personally think the sprinkler head and cost effectiveness, it makes a whole lot of sense. So we would actually have to change, would we have to change an ordinance, or is that, you know, we can enforce a higher level of, you know,
We would have to
Requirements
put
and-
it in the ordinance. I'm assuming it'd go where our monitored smoke and where the commercial, because right now commercial's got a pretty low threshold, 400 square feet. It's going to be required in commercial. So it'd be something similar to that section of the ordinance we've added to that.
are there other things like this? So, you know, I know that, you know, watching construction, there's still people who are using technology from, 20, 30 years ago. And if we wanted to, or we thought it was appropriate to increase the requirements, across the board on a handful of things. So I know, difference between spray foam insulation and bad insulation.
Right.
And just like, yeah, okay, no more island, no more houses on the island using bad insulation.
Right, and that would be great, but like I said, there's only two areas that the state will allow us to go above and beyond code, and that's
Just fire
fire,
and
light
flood.
and safety, and flood for light and safety.
Okay,
So the other standards, they're gonna leave a minimum that you have to meet, and that's where
Got
we
it.
have to
got it.
end our, now, you know, some of the other, I'm not sure where else. Private that might, like, I don't know if that's something maybe the BHA could do. I don't know about that, but it's not something the village could do.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I will say, if, you know, people were looking at the sprinklers, these here are, they're recessed, they're pretty well hidden. You don't have to have a pendant hanging down. They can paint it to match colors. You don't paint it yourself. Obviously, that can create problems, but the manufacturers can pretty much match a color for you. So it can be pretty non-obtrusive. It's not gonna make your house look bad.
And I guess the last thing, so the quick math I'm doing in my mind is we're, what does it cost? $450 or $500 a square foot these days to build a home on Bald Head? Now we're talking adding maybe $4 a square foot. Peanuts.
Yeah, and like I said, the plumber's already there. He's got the pecs. You can run it off that as.
Absolutely. Have you talked to any builders about this?
I mean, no, but I don't think builders would have a big problem with
We
it.
think they're gonna get their money back.
Well, I don't think they'd be the motivators anyhow. For
Right.
some reason, there's a part of me that would love to get an insurance agent to come in here and sell it that way. That's, hey,
That's a great idea.
you're looking at, X number of dollars for your house and you're gonna save this in 5 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I know just the savings you have for having a monitored smoke alarm, the annual cost of that monitoring is immediately offset by the insurance
Right.
reduction that you're saving by having that. And I'm assuming the sprinklers are going to do a similar.
Right.
That might be helpful to have those numbers. Steve.
Yeah, I work with
Different
Jonathan
entities.
Hill, who does a lot of the insurance for folks out here. I'm sure I could get kind of a broad
Yeah.
estimate from him.
Yep,
Right.
it'd be very helpful
That'd be great.
to inform us on moving forward. Thank you. Good stuff. Thanks, Steve.